Hello, everybody, and welcome to Still in the Fight. Hey, if you wake up every morning fighting on behalf of your employees to have a great place to work and fighting on behalf of your customers to have a great place to shop, and if you're in that fight every day, setting standards, solving problems, coaching your team, and pushing to get just a little bit better, then you're in the right place. Because we are retailers just like you. We're still learning, we're still leading, we're still working hard to win. This is Still in the Fight. Retail leadership lessons from the front lines. And today in the studio, we have Mike Costello, CEO for Costello's Ace Hardware. We have Rob Filer, Senior Vice President of Sales for Costello's Ace Hardware. And myself, Art Friedman, Business Coach for Costello's Ace Hardware. Our topic today is going to be a continuation of our Business Readiness podcast. And this one is going to be on the Business Readiness Score. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, guys, good morning. And thanks for letting me kick this off.
Hey, Mike, before you kick it off, can I make a comment? When Art says I'm a retailer just like you, does your arms immediately go to your hips and get in the
retail
position?
stance? Retail stance?
Yeah.
That's Art. That's Art's line. That's Art's line. You stole his stuff. Don't worry, he'll say it again.
Sorry,
all right. So we want to talk a little bit about Business Readiness Score. And I think the bigger topic is how do you create a culture in your business of business readiness, right? And I want to just maybe start with a little story because Art's the expert on this. He developed the Business Readiness Score, but and I thought I'd just kind of tee him up, on because it's made a big impact in our business, and just creating a process that actually builds culture through its frequency, through its discipline, and through its actions and its process. It really has helped us. And so the Business Readiness Score is a scoring of the 5 elements of business readiness, and it's done in a certain way, and it's done at all different levels in our company. But again, I just wanted to maybe be the guy that set this up, because Art, you're really the expert on this. So why don't you kind of talk about what's the genesis of this? Like, I don't even know how you developed this. I know you didn't do it directly with us. You were working with another retailer. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, I did. Thanks, Mike. And I think that's a perfect introduction to it. The Business Readiness Score was developed about 2.5 years ago, and there was a lot of different reasons for doing it, only one of which is the ability to score a retailer on the 5 elements of retailing that are most important. And we've talked about those. It's in stock, it's signage, it's display of product, it's housekeeping, and it's customer service. And when we walk a store and we get done walking the store, typically speaking, the feedback that we give our leaders in that business is sporadic at best. Okay, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm not even saying it's not good most of the time. I'm just saying that it's sporadic. And one of the reasons is I was looking for a consistent way to give leaders in a business feedback that they could actually use and that they would be able to use for training of their people. And the one thing that the Business Readiness Score does is it helps every leader in the company, every leader in the business for sure, it helps them focus on the things that are most important to the business. And it helps them focus on that in a very consistent manner, right? And you guys have both done several business readiness walks. And do you see it that way, or do you see it a little bit different?
I think it's a great tool for that immediate feedback. It's a great tool for learning. It's a consistent tool. And, it takes the onus of performance feedback or performance review to a very safe place. You know, there's common denominators there around the customer experience, and I see it so much as a training tool, in addition to being putting an operator in a place where they could really be successful.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So Art, why don't you just kind of talk a little bit about the details? I mean, what is business readiness score? How does the scoring done? How does a business readiness walk entail? And who's there? I mean, why don't you kind of just run through it?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, and I'll take it from the perspective of working with a store leader that this is their first time they've gone through the business readiness score. So what we do is when we go into a store is we go back into a leader's office usually. And by the way, the people that are going to walk a business readiness score is going to be the store manager in the building. The store manager sometimes has an assistant store manager or somebody else that they rely on that walks. It could be other field staff persons, people, but however and whoever is there doing the walk, we're going to all get together back in the office. And then what we're going to do back in the office is we're going to explain to the manager and whoever else he has selected to walk with us exactly what the business readiness score is. And to give you an idea of what that is, we take each one of the elements, remember there's 5, we take each one of them, and when we walk the stores, we make notes, and then we end up grading, or rating if you want to use that word, each one of those elements on a scale of 0 to 10. So for example, if a store got a perfect rating for in-stock, a perfect rating for signage, a perfect rating for display of product, a perfect rating for housekeeping all over the store, and a perfect rating for customer service, they would have 50 points. And then what we do after we walk and we go back into the leader's office is everybody takes a minute and they put their scores down for each one of those elements, okay? And then we go around the room. So if the 3 of us were walking a business readiness score, it would be pretty simple. You know, Rob, you might start and you'd go for housekeeping. I give you an 8. For signage, I give you a 9. For display of product, I give you a 7. And by the way, then you're going to tell them why. For housekeeping, I give you a 10 because it's just freaking perfect. And for customer service, I give you a 9 because everything I observed. But at any rate, that's going to equate to a total score. We believe that if a retailer has a 40 and above on a consistent basis, they're losing very little sales because of not being ready for business. There are exceptions to that, but on a consistent basis for a store to execute, basically an average of 8 on every one of those is very good, and that's what our expectation is. One other point, it's important that these conversations are candid, and I think it's Rob that just made the comment, look, this is non-threatening. And by the way, I can tell you this, I almost guarantee you that store managers and their staff will rate tougher than I do and rate tougher than other corporate staff members viewing their store, because when they're in there looking at their business, just like you are with a very critical eye, they see things that they didn't even see before. And so there's a lot of benefit to that as well. Does that kind of explanation? What am I missing in that? Again,
I think what's important to explain further, Art, is the comparative scoring. It's the manager scoring their store, or the store leader, or somebody who owns the aisle, and it's the team scoring, and that, what did you see versus what did I see, and talking through those differences. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's exactly right, Rob. If the 3 of us were scoring a store and we were walking with one of our managers, and now we're going around the room, first of all, the 3 of us, we're going to give them our scores first, okay? Now, the store managers can already have put down what they think, but we're going to give them our scores. And then after, let's just say Mike goes and he says, he gives them a score for each 5 elements, and he says, I gave you a 36. Then we take a second and we look the store manager in the eye and we go, do you have any questions? If Mike had a particularly low rating on something, he would be inclined to give them the why, so they know what they need to fix, but that would have already been talked about on the floor as well. And if he gave him a particular high rating on something, he would want to maybe put some meat around that bone as well. But, Mike may go, then Rob may go, then I may go. Once we've done our job, we'll pass it over to the store team, and then whoever is there from the store team will give us their results for each one, and then we'll compare. I can tell you this, after doing hundreds of business readiness scores, I can tell you that once you work with a group of people over a very short period of time, you'll find that the spread is not very much. It's not very much. Mike might give him a 36. I might give him a 38. Rob might give him a 37 or 35. But you're going to see that those scores are going to be pretty close once you've had the experience of doing it 1 or 2 times in a store and with similar people. Did that answer that, Rob?
Yeah, perfect.
I think so. And I want to fill in a blank here, I think, or a little bit, because I think there's a real reason and why that as you kind of perform business readiness walks with various people in the company, how those scores do get better. And it's because, and one thing I don't know if you touched on close enough yet, we don't score business. We don't have 4 people doing a business readiness walk and starting 4 different corners of the store. This is more than just a checklist and a rating system. It is really, I would tell you that the exercise of walking the store together and talking through each aisle is more important than the actual score part of it. The score is just making sure we all understand, or we're looking and summarizing the same way. But those conversations are going on in every aisle. One thing, Art, you didn't mention, and I think it bears mentioning, is that a business readiness walk doesn't take less than an hour and a half at least, or more, to walk a store. We're talking about a very detailed walk of the store where you're stopping quite often and just, talking about conditions or what you see, whether that's on the floor or, an interaction that you just got a chance to see or lack of with an associate, or exactly what's happening, on the pegboard somewhere or on a shelf. So this is very much to me, it's a culture builder, and it's really about teaching, training, and getting alignment in the aisles and, and all over the store. So I just wanted to bring that up.
The other thing, Rob, looks like you were going to say something. Go ahead.
No, the culture building aspect is really important, and we'll talk about a little bit more about that. But after a while, you walk into stores and they're very proud to say, I got a 44 on my last walk, right?
Yeah.
And it gets competitive with the teams, who's in the 40s, who's in the high 30s, and so it translates to that ongoing cultural view of we need to be ready for business, and the score is just one way of strengthening that, right?
The other thing that makes me think is that, and I could tell you that with one company, we've been doing it for 2 years now, right? And I can tell you that when I go into the stores, the department managers know what's going on, and in many cases, the department managers have gone up to the store managers and they've said, I want to be able to do a business readiness walk next time the leaders come into our store. And I mean, that just gives me goosebumps, man. And first of all, that what you're going to see is going to be really, really good. And what's great about it is they know what really, really good is. And that's because they have that accountability to their department, but not just that, is they know what needs to be done in the department. And in most cases, if you run into a store that has a consistent, let's just say between 44 and 46, which is really a good rating, I can guarantee you they're using aisle accountability. And I guarantee you that the people in the aisles are proud of what they've accomplished.
Yeah, this certainly is. I mean, it's really a strong development tool, and we've used it as a development tool. Art, you mentioned, in a lot of businesses, the business readiness score, it starts with a district manager or a business coach and the store manager. And sometimes that's all that's involved. But in where business readiness is at its highest, those business readiness walks are happening within the store culture as well. They're happening with the store manager and their management staff. They're happening, like you said just now, with department owners. They're happening even with staff members. Because you really think about it, every staff member on day one, they should at least start being trained to own a portion of the store. You don't have to own a whole lot of it, but learning the importance of readiness, that's something you can start training and developing people from their very first day on the job.
Absolutely. It makes me think about a story, and Mike, you'll remember this. Rob, you weren't there, but Mike and I and Rocky, we went into a store and we did a business readiness score. And I could tell you, we all knew right away this was not going to be good. But we did the walk, and we did it with the store manager. And we walked their entire store, and we went back into the office. And as I recall, the ratings were in the 20s, and it was not a good conversation, other than the fact it was very candid. But I can tell you that, and that was probably about a year, maybe more than a year ago, maybe even a year and a half ago. But I can tell you that in the follow-up visits that were done with that store, I can tell you that there was a tremendous amount of focus put on making sure that those elements of retail were getting repaired quickly. And I think if you picked up the phone right now and you called that store manager, all you would have to do is say, hey, how was your last business readiness score? And they're going to be proud. And if they're above a 40, they're going to be proud of that, and they're going to know what that 40 means. And that's another benefit of this. You could talk to any one of our store managers, and they would describe to you what a 40 looks like, feels like, tastes like on a business readiness score. And
It tastes delicious.
Yeah, it tastes good, doesn't it? But that's just a universal focus on the things that are most important in the business.
I think the developmental aspect is outstanding. When you can break things down into smaller elements for a new member of the team and talk about a 4-foot section and talk about the 5 elements within that 4-foot section, it really gives them a big advantage to accelerate their learning and to have that pride of ownership that, we all strive for. And I don't know why you brought up taste good. I mean, all I started thinking about, have we ever done a business readiness score in have we done it at New Park Pizza in Howard Beach? I want to know, have we done it?
They are ready for business every time.
Man, I could tell you, Sorellas is ready for business every day. They've got the Parmesan cheese. They've got whatever you want. They're ready for business.
But one thing I want to bring up, and something maybe that we take for granted a little bit, if you've spent a lifetime in retail or a long time in stores or have had a lot of positions, including store manager or maybe even beyond, I think sometimes we take for granted how we can spot problems easily. How literally you can walk through an aisle at a normal to brisk pace and spot all sorts of problems and put them in your memory and then come back to them later on. It's a developed skill. And I think when we take the time to really teach our team what good looks like and how to spot problems in a very slow and very distinct way, then what happens is they start learning to keep their head up while they're walking. When you're walking a customer, and again, I do it kind of instinctually. I'm walking down the store, leading a customer to an area. I know where that area is, but if it's 50 feet away from where I am, I'm glancing at a lot of stuff along the way. Just again, it's something I've been trained over time to do, but not formally trained. And now I think the business readiness walks are formally training our people to what to do while I hate to say this, wasting time, walking down an aisle. What are the possible things you can spot that could be fixed later or fronted or, just all sorts of again, and when you're good at spotting those items and you're fixing them in real time or when you have them, then they don't pop up later on. It makes recovery easier. It makes it makes your tasks more effective, and it creates or reduces the amount of big projects you have later on because sections or portions of the store don't get completely destroyed, before they're getting fixed.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good stuff. And, I remember when you rolled it out, Art, and here's the other test of how good an initiative is how quickly it takes on a life of its own. And after a few walks, everybody started talking about it and grabbing onto it and running with it and asking more questions and getting more curious and just learning. And it became mainstreamed in our business pretty quickly, which says a lot about the thought process that went into it.
Yeah, I mean, for Costello's, when we do our quarterly reviews, the district and or the regional managers are reporting on their business readiness scores in their stores. And when it's on a spreadsheet, it's really cool when it's on a spreadsheet because you could take a look at any one of the stores and you could follow their business readiness scores right across the spreadsheet and you can see where they are. And then you can see the dips. I mean, I could tell you that one store that I work with in another company, they usually get about a 41, 42, right in there, 40, 43. They're very good and very consistent. And I can tell you that last year, in mid-year, we went in there and they got about a 35. And it was, and the store manager stopped me before I left the building, and he asked if he could talk to me. And so, of course, I go back there and I'm talking to him, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey," he said, "I'm embarrassed, man." He said, I'm embarrassed. I can tell you this: you will never come into my store and score this store 35 again, ever. And I can tell you that. I haven't yet. I mean, he's been right up there again. He knew, it's just like, if you can do it consistently, and Mike talks about this a lot, right? And it becomes culture in the business. That's when you get the big win, man. To me, when everybody can talk about it and we're talking on the same language, it's just like if I go visit, the highest rating I've ever given a retailer anywhere in the world ever is Shields Sporting Goods in Reno. I mean, I gave him a 48. I mean, you got to be almost perfect to get a 48.
What was the misses on?
The misses was customer service for him. I mean, that store was in stock. It was neat, clean. It was organized. It was signed. Nobody at any point in time wandering around the store for a half an hour or more said even boo to me. And it's like, God.
You are kind of scary. That's a brave person.
The way I look.
Say hi to you.
But if I pick up the phone and call you and say, "Hey, I was just at Nugget Market," it's a 46. I mean, I could tell you the only thing you'd be going is, "Wow, that's a good store, man. That's a good store." But anyway.
So I remember being with you in one particular day. And by the way, this is the other end of the spectrum again. You talked about negative visits. I remember maybe we got down, we did the sidewalk and one or two aisles and made a determination that it was not going to go well. and the store manager and the district manager were there and knew it. And we decided to pull the plug, save the pain, and leave that store manager who, again, I think requested, hey, can we do this another time? I think I know what I need to be working on. And again, it's good when you can get to that point and have those conversations and have leaders that recognize, again, I think sometimes we take for granted that we think every leader or everyone who's in a position or automatically understands what great looks like and good looks like and what's acceptable and not, or is getting down all their aisles or not. And sometimes that's just not happening. Sometimes, like you said, I think it can be eye-opening. I didn't know I was a 35. I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
And if you boil it down, like you kind of break it apart into the molecules of what this is, it's setting expectation. It's being great every day. It's measuring what great is, and it's displaying what that measure is, and just repeat it, teach it.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what's cool, Rob, about that, and it just makes me think about it. But I mean, I could tell you 50 stories about different conversations that we've had along the way with the Business Readiness Score. Because it's exactly what happens. If you think about what we do as leaders, right? We set expectations, we set standards, we help set priorities, and we help set accountability. I mean, that's what we do, right? And you can go into a store, and that's why I like the question, what's going on here? And I like to hear the answers because maybe I'll learn something that I didn't know. And then I even like better because it's really a good question. You should try it and have some fun with it. But it's like when you walk through there. Well, I'll tell you quickly. Last time I was in New York, we walked one of our stores, and the area behind the store was a mess. It was a mess. Okay. And the store had gotten a 35 on their last BRS. So it wasn't a disaster. But when I was standing back there and I was with Jamie and I was with the leaders, and all I did is look at it and go, just tell me who thinks this is okay. It's just a great question. Who thinks this is okay? And then I think that helps you set the standards that need to be set, because when the obvious answer is nobody, then it's like, well, let's get it taken care of. And then you get some action. But by the way, that's one other thing. The end of the business readiness score, it has to have an action plan attached to it. There has to be an action plan. I mean, unless the store is in really, really good shape and you don't need to do anything. Other than that, there's priorities that need to be taken care of. But we're running out of time.
I know, but one more thing.
Run out of time. Go ahead.
When we see great things in the stores, it's about recognizing them, especially those people that own those areas. So if it's a department that's outstanding, we're giving high fives to the department manager. If it's an area that someone in particular, an associate, set up or owns, we're recognizing them as well. So it's really important. This is not just about, it's not gotcha.
No,
it's not about pointing out the problems. It's about, working towards readiness, and towards 50s.
Yeah. Good point, Mike. Absolutely. If a store's doing well, and especially if they're doing well consistently, man, all you want to do is just throw high fives. But you guys, we got to wrap it up, man. I hate to do it. We could just keep going. Someone put a wrap on it.
All right, let me go first since we got our last words. I think I'm going to make a case for business readiness walks. It's not about the score. It's about the process. And I'm just going to think about when we as leaders are standing by ourselves and we're looking at something that's not acceptable in some way, whether that's what product looks like, what service looks like, whatever that is. There's always two questions that come to mind, always two. And the questions are, what are they thinking? Mm-hmm. And what are they seeing? Those are the questions that we ask ourselves when we're standing. And every leader does that. And what the beauty of the business readiness walks is that it gives you an opportunity to learn those exact things. What what your people are seeing and what they're thinking, because we are asking them every time we see something that may not be perfect and saying, hey, what do you think of that? Or what do you see? And when you can start really having conversations that dive right into those two questions, I think that's when you really build alignment and culture.
That's great.
Yeah, good stuff. Asking questions, asking the right questions, and learning about what's in a thought process will bring you to what things need to be improved upon. I like to think how else business readiness concepts can be used, in other aspects of our lives, right? In coaching and mentoring and developing people. And I'm sure there's a lot there to uncover. Maybe future topics, who knows? But I think, questioning questions and asking those right questions and gaining alignment through those answers is key. So, hey, thanks for bringing this to us, Art. That's great
Yeah,
concepts.
it's good stuff. I think we all did it together, and there was a lot of tweaks made along the way. And I think that it's put together. We have a product that works. But to me, the part that I like about it the most is I really like the candid conversations. I really like them, and I really like to be able to stand in front of somebody and ask them what's going on and have them tell us, and then be able to give them some feedback on it in any way. And the other thing that it uncovers a lot of that we really haven't talked about at all is it really uncovers challenges that we might have throughout the company. And so I can tell you that, and you guys would do the same thing. I mean, when I leave a store, it would be very rare that I wouldn't be back in the car picking up a phone and calling somebody in category management or calling somebody. And I think that those walks in the store is what highlights and brings out the problems that we have in the entire company. And
As a
then,
support team, no doubt. Yeah, that's
yeah,
a good point.
and then enables us to be able to solve them. So I think there's the element of in the store that's beneficial on this. And then I think there's a corporate element that's beneficial as well. And then I think that communication between leaders and an understanding of what an acceptable store looks like is really important, because if you ask 10 people in the past, you might have gotten 10 different answers. But I think now we've shrunk those 10 answers down. It's good stuff.
Very good.
It's
Hey,
been a
guys.
great time, guys.
Yeah, good.
Have a happy 4th of July.
Oh, all right.
250.
See
Big
you
one.
later.
Yeah.
Ciao.